All right, I'm going to go over a few things first, and then once you guys have questions, feel free to ask me. Okay. Okay, so can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. It's
Yeah,
visible.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is just your general presentation on the web. Okay, like how do you present yourself, and just like what someone gets to know about you when they first come across you. Okay, that could be on either of the social media platforms, or even via email, or just via an introduction, right? Like or your website. So the first thing that I notice, which is very very common, is that people write their name, and people write it like, say, so you can see it in my URL bar. People write it like this. Okay, ABH. So they don't really care about, the capital letters, the small letters and stuff. Okay. So what everyone should be doing is that you should be writing your name like this, okay, with your P capital and A capital. Like in my name, if my name is Prashant Abhishek, then I'll write with P capital and A capital, right? Rather than say, you know, Prashant Abhishek, wherein P is small and A is small, the initials are small, or running letters, or how you type it on WhatsApp, right? So this is something that is very very common. Like for example, if I go to our Slack, I'm sure someone or the other would still be there with that name. Okay, uh, so that's extremely common. I've asked a lot of people to change it, so yeah, that's good. Uh, but that's very common, so make sure that, and this is across all the platforms, not just on Slack, but on your email ID, on your Twitter, Facebook, whatever you're using, GitHub. At least the most that are, I mean, the professional social networks are a must, like for example LinkedIn, GitHub, your personal website, Slack, and email ID, and your, so yeah, these are the few places that your name should at least follow this convention. Okay, what you do on WhatsApp is irrelevant, but anywhere that is in public domain or professionally used, please write your name properly, which is like, the initials of your name should be capital. Now, on every platform, put a proper self description. What are you currently doing? What are you interested in? And just give me a second, guys. Let's Okay, this is better. So on every platform, put a proper self-description. What are you currently doing and what are you interested in? Why should someone follow you? Okay, so your Twitter bio, for example, should be extremely clear. Okay, like what are you currently doing, right? So for example, you should be putting learning full stack web development at AltCampus, okay, plus whatever you are interested in. So this is what everyone should, bios should look like. Like say, for example, if you go to my profile, you would see things that I am interested in, like for example, thoughts on education, entrepreneurship, and living. And then what am I currently doing? I'm writing on Remen Potential and I'm building AltCampus, right? So similarly, this bio section that you have on all these platforms is a good way for other people to know in very short period of time who you are, like who a part of you is, right? Like say for example, what are you interested in, what are you currently doing, at least these two things. Okay, then we have use the same display picture across various platforms for consistency and noticeability. Okay, now like get a good headshot, like a photo wherein like your face is visible, and make sure that that is the DP across all the DP, that is the DP across all the social platforms, be it GitHub, and I mean LinkedIn, your personal website, Slack, or whatever, right? Okay, it's important because people recognize other people with the faces. Like there are hundreds of Suraj Kumars in the world. Okay, there are hundreds of Sonu Kumars in the world. Okay, but like a picture that you put on your profile is going to be unique from other people. Okay, so don't put like all these, like either some other actors or celebrities photo or like some cartoon photo. Don't put any of that. Okay, get a good headshot and then make that your DP across all the platforms. Okay, now everyone must have a personal website with the following pages: home, blog, projects, and contact. So each one of you, by the time you finish HTML and CSS, should have a personal website. Okay, and for now, this can just be, you know, your .github.io thing. Okay, but once you are into, you know, once you have done Node and Java and, you know, React stuff, then all of you should get your own personal domain. Okay, which is like, say if it's Sonu, then Sonu should get sonukumar.com or like whatever you want to get. Okay, but everyone should have their own personal website with their domain, and it should have home section wherein like you talk about yourself, then a blog section where you write whatever, you know, your articles and all of that, and then a project section where you are displaying all the projects that you have worked on. This is basically part of your portfolio. Okay, and your blog is your real estate on the internet. Okay, this is the most valuable property that you have on the internet. Okay, and like similar to how you have homes, similar to that, this your website is your main home. Okay, it's not your Twitter, it's not your Medium, it's not your you know, GitHub even for that matter. It's your personal website. Okay, and your personal website should tell you all the relevant information about you. It should have a contact section wherein like your email ID should be there, and there should be a way for other people to contact you via Twitter, Facebook, and all of that. Okay, then we have, everyone should write a paragraph about themselves. You can use this to introduce yourself anywhere. Now this is super important. A lot of times we ask people to introduce themselves and they have extremely hard time, you know, talking about themselves. They can barely speak 4 to 5 sentences about themselves, and the problem is because they haven't actually put in the thought of, give me a sec. Manish, is everyone able to hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can able to. We can hear you properly.
Yeah, okay. Manish, it's some issue at your end. Please figure it out. So yeah, you know, where was I? Everyone should write a paragraph about themselves. So yeah, the problem, what happens is that people have not thought about themselves on how they're going to introduce themselves. Okay, and that is why they're unable to come up with like even 3, 4, 5 sentences. So please take time to come up with a paragraph about yourself. Like say for example, who you are, what are you interested in, you know, sort of what types of activities that you like to do, you know, yeah, basically something that, you know, tells who you are more than just your name and where you come from. Okay, that could be whatever you are interested in, whatever you are currently doing, whatever you plan to do, you know, blah blah blah. But everyone should have a well-written introduction. Now everything that you say, it's like there's an interesting sort of way to do this, which is there are 3 things that everyone should you know, come up with that they want to be known for. Okay, like personally, like say for example, it could be like it could be, you know, characters that you want to be known for. For example, like say if I want to be known for honesty, and then I would probably have, you know, a story about myself ready all the time, wherein like, you know, somewhere in the past, okay, wherein like I have, I mean, some act of, you know, honesty, which you don't have to say that I'm honest, but like the story tells you that, you know, this person. So what happens is that once you give this set of introduction, you have stories to tell further on yourself, and you can take the communication forward. I mean, if it's an informal setting, if it's just to introduce yourself, then this particular paragraph should be ready so that you can tell people that, hey, I'm interested in education, entrepreneurship, and this and that, and the last experiment I ran was this, and you know, so forth. So, all right. Then, is everyone clear on the presentation checklist? I mean, this
Yes,
can be
that's very
massive, but
clear.
here we are we're talking about the very basics. Okay, this session, the first time that we are doing this communication thing, and I'm just like touching the very high level stuff right now. I mean, and there are plenty of details that we can get into, but we'll slowly get into each one of the checklist, which is presentation, and then remote work, and then to GitHub, and then tweeting. But yeah, so far so good. Any doubts, anyone? Okay, looks like nothing. So, all right, let's continue. Now, let's talk about remote work and written communication. Now, when you, I mean, remote work, most of the time people will be talking asynchronously, which is we wouldn't be doing, I mean, they wouldn't be doing video calls, but most of the communication would happen via Slack or via email or via GitHub, right? So, I mean, and one of the good things about, you know, this remote program, the online program, is that these things are being, you know, sort of baked into the program, whereas this was sort of missing in the offline one. But anyway, so because all of the communication is now happening in the written format, we need to be good at writing. Okay, so no matter who you are and no matter what you do, okay, you have to get good at writing. Okay, so for example, like the good companies, like say for example Basecamp. Okay, Basecamp is a very good project management tool, and it's like one of the oldest, you know, project management tools out there. So they assess people, even while hiring developers, they assess people on the technical front first, okay, which is like how good they are technically. But if there are two people with the same technical skill set, then they give them some, you know, then they go on their writing, okay, how good of a writer they are, okay, and whoever is a better writer gets hired, okay. So writing is super important because writing helps you clear your thoughts, you know. It lets you express yourself clearly, and if someone is able to express meaning like being able to communicate the idea that they have in the mind so that the other person can understand, will be a more effective team, you know, team worker, right? So the writing is super important. So just like some basic tips on writing, okay, we, again, this can be a whole like 1 hour thing, but right now we are just touching the surface on everything. So each sentence should start with capital letter. Again, I see a lot of people just writing casually with I is small, I am going to do this, and then I am small, I is small, and you know, even the next sentence that they're writing, the first letter is small. So please chuck that habit and start like paying attention to the details of, you know, being grammatically correct, okay, and making sure that then the next thing is don't write long sentences, okay, write short sentences, okay. Short sentences are easier to maintain grammatically speaking and are also easier to understand, right? So then the third thing is write to be understood, okay. The main reason that you're writing is not for your sake of writing, but for the other people to understand, okay. So when you're writing, make sure that you double read it, and make sure that whatever you're trying to write, whatever you're trying to express or like communicate, first when you write it down and when you read it, are you able to understand it yourself? Okay, if not, then you need to rewrite it. Okay, so before you send a message, please make sure that you're, you know, reading it once, twice, thrice, okay, just to make sure that you are giving full context to the person that you're sending the message to. Okay, because without having the full context, the other person won't really know what to do with that information. Okay, so say for example, we are working on some feature, okay, and you know, and then I am working on the front end part, or like say I'm working on the back end part, and Sunny is working on the front end part, and I tell Sunny that, hey, you know, I have done the API part. Can you please integrate backend and front end? Now, when I say that I have done the API part, I'm not giving him enough information. I need to tell him this particular URL or this particular API endpoint I have done. Okay, and this is the result that it's going to give. It's documented on such and such place. Okay, you can read more about it here. Okay, and you should have documented all of that so that it's easier for the other person to read it and understand. Empathy is very important. What if we reverse the roles? Okay, what if Sunny told me to do something where I didn't have enough context, or you didn't, or you were asked to do something and you don't have enough context? Okay, in that case you'll just be frustrated and you'll be mad at the other person, right? So don't let other people be mad at you. Okay, so it's important that you get into their shoes and understand, to be able to do their work, what is the relevant information that you need to tell them, okay, and how well documented it is, right? So the better documented it is, I mean, the better it's written down, okay, the more detailed it is, the easier it is for the other person to act on it, right? So when you're writing something, write to be understood rather than just to write. Okay, so yeah, Then there's a point about grammar, right? Okay, like install Grammarly. Grammarly is this Chrome extension that you can use that checks for grammar and stuff before sending the mail and messages. So while this seems like, okay, we are software developers and we don't really need to pay attention to grammar, but everything that you do reflects who you are. Okay, so if you write proper grammar, then that's just what your identity is, right? Like you're someone who cares about quality. So, and anyway, I mean, it's a good thing to have. Now this is super important, this last point about remote work. Okay, and this I mean, I personally hate it when people message me with just saying hi and not giving me any other information, just waiting for me to reply back. Yeah, and that happens a lot with other remote workers as well. So in remote work, write your entire message or issue in one go. Don't say hi and wait for the other person to reply with hi and then share your problem. That will waste a lot of time. Instead, just share entire message the first time you say hi. Okay, so for example, again, me and say Sonu here, we are working on a project, and say Sonu is in US, okay, and I'm here. Okay, now I am going to text him just saying hi. Okay, so I have a problem regarding some code that he has written. Okay, and I want to ask him something. Okay, so there are two ways I could go about it. One way is that I simply write hi, how we do it on WhatsApp, and wait for him to reply. Now I send the message at sort of like 11 a.m. morning my time. Okay, and it's 9:30 p.m. in Sonu's time. Okay, so the hi that I sent, okay, Sonu will receive it at like 9:30 p.m. his time, and then he's going to start working 10 hours later at 9:30, or like 12 hours later 9:30 his time, and by that time I would be sleeping, right? So I would be doing sort of like the next time I'm going to reply back. So he says hi. Okay, then the next opportunity for me to reply back is next day morning. Okay, and then I'm going to ask the question that what am I supposed to do with this particular code that you have written, right? And then he's going to reply back the next day. So this has taken us 2 days, okay, to just pass this information, simply because we were treating it as a general synchronous communication. Okay, how we do it over phone call, we say hello, we wait for the other person to say hello before we convey our messages, before we talk further. Don't do that with remote work. Okay, with remote work, you're supposed to write your entire issue in one go. Okay, just say hi Sonu, I'm working with such and such thing, and I'm facing a problem with this part. Okay, what should I do? And then the next morning he wakes up and he'll tell you what to do, right? So that way we are saving time. Okay, and we are also saving a lot of back and forth and a lot of irritation and annoyance, right? So yeah, a lot of times I get this a lot, just on like, even with the people here in the campus or online, wherein like people will just ping me hi. Okay, and then they will wait for me to say hi. Okay, I don't have that much time to do that. Okay, so instead, just like say hi and write your entire issue so that I know the issue and I can act on it as soon as possible. Okay, cool. Now let's talk a little bit about GitHub. Okay, now how do we communicate? So GitHub communication is mostly technical communication. Okay, so in technical projects, what's going on usually is that and this, the GitHub part could differ a little bit depending on your team, depending on the company that you're working with, but most of the time it's this flow. Okay, wherein like for each issue or each bug, you create a branch. Okay, you create an issue on the GitHub. Okay, and then all the communication that is related to that particular issue happens in that thread. Okay, and then, I mean, whoever you are collaborating with, you can ask the questions, or you can discuss related to that particular bug or feature in that thread. Okay, and while you're working on that issue or bug or feature, whatever that be, you are going to create a separate branch and then work in that branch. And once you are done working, you will send a pull request to either the master branch or to the parent branch, whichever branch, I mean, your team is sort of like asking to be merged into, right? Asking that PR to be merged into. So you send a PR to that particular branch. Okay, and then people review it, and then if there is any feedback, you again go back and fix the code, and then finally it gets merged. Okay, so basically, I mean, and this could the GitHub part, because some companies just prefer merge, some companies use rebase. So this might be a little bit different on the company that you are, you know, working with, but generally this is the thing. Okay, where like you, for each feature or bug, you create an issue, and for each issue you create a branch, and then you work on the branch, and then you submit a pull request to the you know, to the parent branch, and then either merge happens or rebase happens, and then it's merged, and then all the communication or discussion related to that particular issue happens in the thread of that particular issue. Okay, so far so good. Any questions, any doubts?
No, it's clear, sir, for now.
Okay, is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes, sir.
All right, cool. Okay, now let's move on to tweeting. Okay, now here we are getting into more sort of like, I mean, this is not really like part of, you know, as in like as a developer, but like while learning, this is important. And even in general, when you tweet. So I see that people use a lot of hashtags. Okay, so please don't use like more than 3 to 5 or max 7 hashtags. Okay, they're pretty much useless. Okay, so put only the most important relevant hashtags. Okay, and don't put hashtags at the top. Okay, whatever your messages or whatever your opinion or insight is, let that go first. Okay, and then you put hashtags at the end. Okay, then don't write more than 2 sentences in a para. So see, your writing changes depending on the platform that you're writing on. Okay, the way you are writing changes the platform that you're writing on. Like, so for example, how I would write on GitHub, or how I would write on Medium, or how I would write on my personal blog would be different from how I would write on Twitter, right? All these platforms are different. Okay, so on Twitter, people value, you know, sort of the most density, information density in the least amount of, you know, space. So basically, each word that you use in your tweet should have weight. Okay, should be extremely sharp, which is like you shouldn't be blotting your tweet. Okay, every word there carries a lot of value, so use that properly. Okay, so which is why don't write more than 2 sentences in para. Okay, if you need another sentence, then just put a line break, make another para. Okay, now use emojis to add color and warmth, but don't use too many emojis. Okay, it's like you know, emojis are good for like all the niceness and cuteness and warmth that it displays, but too many just gets annoying, right? So, and then we have talked about don't put more than 3 to 4 hashtags. Then put screen recordings whenever you want to demo something. That, like, for example, you are working on something and you want to demo a project, you know, and then either grab a screenshot or like do a recording and then add it to the tweet. Don't unnecessarily tag people. It's extremely annoying. Okay, like, I'm working on something, and then if I am not relevant to that tweet, or if I haven't collaborated with you on that particular project, don't tag me. Okay, but you feel free to tag AltCampus, the organization where you're learning at. I mean, in tweets related to learning. Okay, then read your tweet twice before publishing, edit it, and make it sharper. I mean, this is in general true, okay, for all the writing that you do. I mean, one part is writing, but the major part is editing. Okay, they say, right, like, write drunk but edit sober. So meaning that, you know, when you're editing, most of the work in writing actually happens when you're editing. So similarly with your tweet, or like you're writing anywhere, just like double check it, you know, reread it once, twice, thrice, and every time you do it, make it, you know, sharper. Sharper as in, like, remove unnecessary words, unnecessary letters and all that, and just make sure that whatever you are trying to say is very, very concrete. Like and retweet tweets that you like from other members in the AltCampus and broader learning community. This is just like showing appreciation and showing appreciation in general goes a long way. So even if it's, I mean, whoever, like it could be someone from AltCampus or like in broader learning community, anyone new that you know, like their tweet, opinion, insight, or like whatever you're working on, please show encouragement. Now, the last part is writing replies is harder than writing tweets. So try to reply to 1 or 2 tweets every day if that's something that you can do. It's not hard and fast. But these are just general guidelines on tweeting, GitHub, remote work, and written communication, and presentation checklist. So far, any questions? Any questions? I mean, we'll get into, you know, like sort of like just website, talking about how your website should be, talking about how, I mean, more stuff about remote. I just picked like the 20% of the stuff that takes care of the 80% of things. Okay, but then there are other 80% that does 20%. But this is the 20% that will cover most of your. This is the most important stuff, basically. You know. So yeah. Any questions?
Yes, so it's about actually we have a updating the LinkedIn profile mine. So I thought like I added my AltCampus as a training in in a experience. So is that a correct way, or like we have to change it to in the education part? So it's just a little doubt which is in my mind. So I just thought to ask you this time.
Yeah, I think Narendra has also pointed that out to me, that people are not able to add as like as an educational experience, rather than they have to put it as a work experience. I'll look into it. Okay, I'll see, probably the company type needs to be changed or what needs to be done there. I'll look at it. Okay, but yeah, ideally it should go into education.
Sure. Okay.
Anything else? Yeah, if you guys are not writing blog posts actively, please start doing that. That's like that's very important. Okay, it's like it's more important than you actually think. It seems like that, okay, this is just a futile exercise, but it's actually not. It's extremely important. Like when you write a blog post, you sort of, it's the first time when you realize that you have to explain something. Okay, and that is what most of the communication is about explaining your ideas. Okay, so I mean, right now, when we are not collaborating, the least thing that we can do is write blog posts, so that we at least explain ourselves in just like a doc. Yeah, anything else, anyone?
No, Prashant, looks good.
Looks good. Anything useful, anything new that you learned in the session, or was it most of the stuff that you already knew?
Not like that. So we learned through the session a lot about formal communication and all.
Okay, all right. This is just like the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to share this document with you guys, but then I'll continue updating it, and then I'll continue having more sessions on, professional communication and writing. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So anyone who, I mean, go ahead and check out all your social media and like all these platforms, and make sure that you have a description, you have consistent naming, consistent, DP, and everyone should have a personal website. And then follow what we talked about on the remote work. Okay, whenever you message someone, make sure that you write all of that in one go. Write to be understood, rather than just writing. Give enough content. I mean, this is what communication is about. It's not about, okay, how good your English is. I mean, that matters too, but that's not the most important. Most important part is whether what you're trying to say is being understood by the other person or not. If you can do that, if you can communicate your ideas in a way that other people can understand, then you have done 80% of it. So yeah. Okay, And each platform has its own certain rules. Like say, for example, how you communicate on GitHub is going to be different from how you communicate on Slack. Okay, so yeah. All right. Okay, cool. I'll share the link in the general group. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time, guys.
Thank you, Bhaiya.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.